Look, I get it. The moment someone mentions alone time, half of you immediately think we're talking about becoming that weird neighbor who hoards newspapers and talks to their 17 cats. But here's the thing your brain has been trying to tell you while you've been busy scrolling through other people's vacation photos. Your gray matter is literally begging for some quality one-on-one time with itself. And no, this isn't some motivational speaker nonsense about finding your inner unicorn. This is your brain on science, people. Your neural pathways are basically throwing a tantrum every time you force them to process Karen from accounting's third story about her weekend, while simultaneously pretending to care about Brad's new cryptocurrency investment. Your poor neurons are out there doing mental gymnastics just to keep up with the social circus. And frankly, they're getting tired. Think about it. When was the last time you sat alone without immediately reaching for your phone like it was a security blanket? I'll wait. That millisecond of panic you just felt? That's your brain realizing it might actually have to spend time with itself, without the comforting distraction of watching someone else's life highlight reel. But here's where it gets interesting. Your brain doesn't just tolerate alone time, it actually craves it like a sugar addict craves a donut at 3 in the morning. When you're constantly surrounded by people, your brain is essentially running a full-time customer service department. Every social interaction requires processing facial expressions, monitoring tone of voice, calculating appropriate responses, and making sure you don't accidentally say what you're actually thinking. It's exhausting. Imagine your brain as an overworked intern who's been covering 3 different departments while the boss is on vacation. When you finally give it some alone time, it's like telling that intern they can finally take their lunch break and maybe even use the bathroom without having to ask permission. Your brain literally sighs with relief and starts doing all those important background processes it's been putting off, like consolidating memories and figuring out what the hell you actually want from life. Research shows that solitude activates what scientists call the default mode network, which is basically your brain's screensaver, except instead of flying toasters, it's processing emotions, solving problems, and occasionally wondering why you said that embarrassing thing in 7th grade. This network is crucial for self-reflection, moral reasoning, and understanding your own thoughts and feelings. You know, all that deep stuff that gets buried under the constant noise of modern life. Now I know what you're thinking. But what about FOMO? What if something amazing happens while I'm sitting alone like a hermit? Well, here's a revolutionary concept. Maybe the amazing thing that happens is you actually figuring out who you are when you're not performing for an audience of friends, family, and random strangers on the internet. When you're alone, you don't have to be the funny one, the responsible one, or the one who always knows where the good restaurants are. You can just be you in all your unfiltered, socially unacceptable glory. You can eat cereal for dinner, watch documentaries about obscure historical events, or spend an hour researching why cats purr without having to justify it to anyone. Revolutionary, right? This brings us to creativity, which is basically your brain's way of playing when nobody's watching. When you're constantly around others, your creative thinking gets filtered through the social expectation machine. You start censoring ideas before they're even fully formed because you're worried about how they'll be received. But in solitude, your brain can run wild like a kindergartner with finger paints. Ideas can be weird, impractical, or downright bizarre without immediate judgment, or the need to explain them to someone who's already mentally planning their response. Speaking of authenticity, let's talk about the phenomenon I like to call performance fatigue. You know how you act slightly different around your coworkers, your family, your college friends, and your gym buddies? That's because you're essentially running multiple personality subroutines, each tailored to different social contexts. It's like being a one-person theater troupe, except you never get to go home and drop the act because there's always another audience waiting. Alone time is when you can finally stop performing and remember which opinions are actually yours versus which ones you've adopted to fit in with various social groups. It's surprisingly difficult to figure out if you genuinely like something, or if you've just been convinced to like it through social osmosis. I mean, do you really enjoy that trendy restaurant everyone raves about? Or do you just enjoy not being judged for having uncultured taste buds? And here's where things get really interesting for your relationships. Counterintuitively, spending time alone actually makes you better at being with other people. When you're constantly together with someone, they become background noise. Not because you love them less, but because your brain starts treating them like familiar furniture. You stop really seeing them as individuals and start seeing them as extensions of your shared routine. Taking breaks from even your favorite people allows your brain to reset its appreciation circuits. It's like leaving a room and coming back to notice the smell of coffee that you'd stopped noticing before. Absence doesn't just make the heart grow fonder, it makes the brain grow more aware of what you actually value about the people in your life. If you've stuck around this long, you're probably the type of person who appreciates learning about their own psychological quirks. So why not subscribe for more insights into the wonderfully weird ways your brain works? We promise to keep the armchair psychology to a minimum and the actual science to a maximum. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Your phone. That little dopamine slot machine in your pocket has basically hijacked your brain's reward system and convinced it that constant stimulation is normal. Your brain now expects entertainment every 30 seconds, and when it doesn't get it, it panics and assumes something is wrong. This is why sitting alone with your thoughts feels uncomfortable at first. Your brain has forgotten how to entertain itself without external input. But here's the thing, your brain is actually incredibly entertaining when you give it a chance. It's been quietly collecting observations, making connections, and developing opinions about everything from the way people walk their dogs to the political implications of grocery store layouts. When you finally give it some quiet time, it's like opening a filing cabinet that's been locked for months. All sorts of interesting thoughts come tumbling out. The mental health benefits of solitude extend far beyond just feeling less overwhelmed. Regular alone time has been linked to improved emotional regulation, better decision-making, increased empathy, and enhanced problem-solving abilities. When you're constantly responding to external stimuli, you're essentially living in reactive mode. Solitude allows your brain to switch to proactive mode, where you can actually think through situations instead of just responding to them automatically. This is particularly important for stress management. When you're always around other people, you're absorbing their emotions, energy levels, and anxieties whether you realize it or not. Humans are social creatures, which means we're constantly, unconsciously mirroring the emotional states of those around us. Spending time alone allows your nervous system to recalibrate and figure out which feelings are actually yours versus which ones you've picked up from other people, like emotional lint. But perhaps most importantly, alone time teaches you how to be happy without requiring other people to provide your entertainment, validation, or sense of purpose. This isn't about becoming antisocial or misanthropic, it's about becoming genuinely independent. When you can enjoy your own company, you stop putting unrealistic pressure on friends, family, and romantic partners to constantly make you feel good about yourself. The people who are most comfortable being alone are often the most enjoyable to be around because they're not desperately seeking attention or validation from every interaction. They can listen without immediately thinking about what they want to say next. They can appreciate others without needing to be appreciated in return. They bring a sense of calm self-assurance to social situations instead of anxious energy. So next time someone suggests you need to get out more, or questions why you're staying home on a Friday night, remember that your brain is probably doing a little happy dance at the prospect of some uninterrupted processing time. You're not missing out on life. You're finally giving yourself space to figure out what kind of life you actually want to live. And trust me, your future self will thank you for taking the time to get properly acquainted with the most important person you'll ever know yourself.